We are a week into our Season of Discovery journey, and although players are still learning how to play their classes, there are some pretty obvious winners and losers. Casters as a whole are pretty weak compared to melee in Season of Discovery. But at the bottom of the barrel, barely scraping by, is the Shadow Priest. Their DPS is abysmal, and raid utility, while it exists, can be brought by better classes. Let's talk about why Shadow is bad, and if there can be a place for Shadow Priest at level 25 in Season of Discovery. First of all, Shadow has terrible damage, which almost exclusively eliminates them from competitive PvE content. At level 25, Mind Blast is fine, but not great. Mind Flay hits like a wet noodle, and Shadow Word Pain should be called Shadow Word Tickle. This is mainly due to spell ranks, as Shadow Priests are still utilizing low-level ranks of these spells that receive their next ranks at level 26 and 28. New spells gained from runes aren't particularly strong either. Void Plague is a new dot that lasts 15 seconds and deals damage comparable to Shadow Word Pain, thus not very much. Mind Seer is an AoE ability that is nice to have, but doesn't offer any single target viability, and that's what we care about in a raid. The passive runes aren't anything to write home about either. Twist of Fate adds 20% damage to Mind Flay and Mind Blast, but 20% of 0 is 0, so it doesn't really do much at level 25. Shared Pain is cool for multi-dotting, but again, Shadow Word Pain is only a pain because it costs mana and doesn't do a damn thing. The most unfortunate thing of all is that the highest DPS ability Shadow Priests have access to is actually a holy spell. Penance is awesome while leveling, and although its damage doesn't scale that well as you level up, it is undoubtedly the winner of the Shadow Priest damage toolkit. This does not bode well for our shadowy friends. Utility-wise, Shadow has a new ability called Homunculi. This summons 3 little shadow dudes that debuff the target of their choosing with an attack speed, attack power, and armor debuff. While these debuffs are strong, they can be brought by other classes, better classes, and the Homunculi have minds of their own. Sometimes they attack your target, sometimes they do nothing, and sometimes they decide to chase a Digret instead of actually attacking your fucking target. This proves to be a very inconsistent debuff, which will be constantly frustrating the melee in your group. The other utility that can be brought by Shadow Priest is Shadow Weaving, a 15% increase in shadow damage on targets you cast shadow spells on. This is good when other classes can benefit, but unfortunately Affliction Locks don't seem to be particularly strong in BFD. They're not bad, but casters are exclusively outshined by melee DPS and hunters at level 25, so you're not going to be bringing too many Affliction Locks to your raids, which means Shadow Weaving really doesn't do anything. And now the final issue, mana. Shadow Priests have no form of mana regen, so even if the stars align and they full pump all their pitiful, meaningless, non-existent damage into a boss, they will be out of mana before they can say, why the hell did I actually level this class? If you bring a Shadow Priest to a raid where no one knows the mechanics or has any gear, you are trolling your group and you should feel bad. Shadow Priest can definitely be played, as I have done and have trolled my group with, but it's not something that I would recommend, and I think you should probably learn to heal, as much as it pains me to say that, as somebody who is a Shadow Priest enjoyer. Everybody keeps saying, wait until you get Shadow Form, wait until you get Shadow Form, things will get better later. Well, they might, but for right now, things are looking pretty dire. So, are Shadow Priests fucked in Season of Discovery? At level 25? Yeah, you better believe they are. They don't belong in a raid, and the only place they do belong is at the Priest Trainer changing their talents into Holy or Disc. So where does this leave our little Shadow buddy? Unfortunately, in the dumpster. I do believe Shadow will have a place in raids at future level caps, but they don't provide enough utility or damage to be worthwhile in a raid at level 25. You can definitely get carried through a raid, which is what I would suggest if you're trying to play Shadow, but other than that, you should probably just stick to healing. Blizzard has said they'd be willing to balance the game if things seemed a little bit too unfair, so maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel at level 25, but I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, that's all for this video. My name's Pantsface, and I'll see you in the next one.